Yes, here we go. It is the T.N.F. It's the night we hand over the keys to you. So make sure you use the hashtag T.N.F at the start of your post if you're wanting myself and the judge to react to them. Mark joins us as always on a Thursday. We're a bit earlier this week, back at 5. How are you, big man?
I'm doing very well, thanks, mate. How's things? How's life in your
Great,
circle?
mate. Great. I've been proactive in the old podcast of late, mate. Just doing
I
things
see.
at my own leisure, though. Do you know what I mean? It's probably been suiting me a wee bit better, to be honest with you. Just been able to. I've tried to just sort of warn folk that it's going to be more spontaneous and things like that. So in that nature, I'm just finding that I've got a wee spare half hour. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just go on at 8:30. I was like, well, I'll have my tea done by then. But see if I just know it's like 9 till 10 and it's lingering at the back of my mind, or 8 till 9, I'm like, oh, am I going to make
That's
that? And I
different.
feel like I'm rushing about. But see, when you're just sitting there, you could. I mean, last night I didn't need to do a show, but see, just the ability to go. Actually, by the time I've had my tea, I've done the dishes. I'll be free then. Fuck it, I'll go on for 25 minutes then. There's a nice wee luxury that to I probably should have been doing that earlier, to be honest with you, but it is
No, I
what it
quite
is.
enjoyed last night's show. I think that's the. I think when it's set in stone and it becomes a bit like I know a chore, but
A
it
part-time job.
linger on your head the rest of the full day. So you can have an hour spare, fire on and
Aye.
make some content. Definitely, you know what I mean. And but you probably find that you're probably going to start enjoying it a bit better as well if you're.
There's probably a bit of truth in that as well, mate. There probably is a bit of truth in that. But yes, right. Anyway, enough of all that shit. All that good stuff means give us a like, give us a share, buy some hair. Remember as well, piesports.com, tasty pastry treat. And it is 12.5% off at the checkout when you use the code BUS1888. On top of that, subscribe to the Bhoycie Bus if you've not already. Remember that subscribe button. We did jump up 5 subscribers yesterday, so a big shout out to the newbies that have joined. And of course, the option is there. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, the option is there. All the content remains free. It's $1.99 a month. It just keeps the bills paid and all that shit, because there is maintenance costs for all this, for the audio, etc., etc. But it's entirely optional. Don't worry about it if you don't want to. There should be a wee link below. Remember as well, below that there is a link to Phil's new project. He's going to be doing the Boys on the Bus for the new season, and there is a link to that. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on that, which will be the more sort of structured, formatted sort of routine week to week, which I think, to be honest with you, viewers much prefer. I'm just a wee selfish pig who just likes to do things my way. Right, anyway, Mark, it's been a week since we've spoke. There's one new signing in the door, Ross Doohan. I think we can safely say now the Negrin deal is done and dusted. It's just a case of, remember, as we're not in the EU, even though he's just coming from Scandinavia, he needs a work permit. That will be that's holding this deal up. It'll be the work permit, mate. So we can safely say, I think Benjamin Negrin is Benjamin, isn't it? That's made his first name up. No, it is Benjamin.
No, it is. I think it is.
Benjamin Negrin. It's Negrin. That's how you pronounce it, by the way. I was corrected by one of the viewers, so that was great, because I was Nigrin. Is it Nigrin? Negrin is how it's pronounced, right? But I think, I think he's a done deal. And of course, KT joined at the start of the summer. We spoke about the sort of underwhelming nature in which he signed when it's really an overwhelming signing. But we're obviously looking for more to come in. But right now, the headlines are dominated, Mark, be fair to say, by potential departures. I think Greg Taylor's apparently doing his medical at PAOK Salonika, I think their full name is. Is that right? Is that PAOK? PAOK? Is that who they are?
I'm thinking, I don't know, POK. I don't know what
I don't know. Where have I got the Salonika bit from? Am I thinking it?
POK. I thought it was. It's a Greek team, isn't it? Is it in Greece?
Yeah, I've just made up
that. I thought it would maybe head
get that
or something. Rather than that. Yeah, so it sounds like
I've just made that up, mate. Just
I think there's a team called AIK Salonika or something like that.
So is there? Aye, I've got myself confused.
But maybe I made it up.
Was AIK Stockholm?
Yes, but is it?
What's that sign Salonika? Isn't that?
There's a Salonika, definitely.
Martin Weir says, "No, you're right, Bhoycie." Wow, that would be a first, mate.
There you go.
I think they just
PAOK Salonika. PAOK Salonika.
Salonika. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
PAOK, yeah.
Aye, PAOK Salonika. Oh, fucking hell, man. I'm in the zone, man.
Yeah.
I go up to date my Greek football. But, I was mentioning last night as well, someone who didn't shine in Greek football was Luis Palma. You were in the chat on that. It was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought that would have been a good fit for him. But Greg Taylor, as I say, medical over in Greece, apparently, so they say. Although someone had commented in the chat just last night, I think it was Alistair Jack. He's a great lad. He's watched the Bus for years, and he was saying he'd heard that GT was staying, but apparently he's doing a medical at PAOK Salonika. And the other departure news, of course, is RB Leipzig was linked by Anthony Joseph yesterday. He's put the kiss of death on it, isn't he? Because it was also, it's also now, oh fuck, who's the other team? Just Como, yes, Como. What a place to see. Fuck the football, mate. Imagine just living by like you like fucking Lake Como. What is it? You finish about 15th in the table. Like, do you get to live there? Fucking sign me up right now.
Fabregas is a manager.
Is he still the manager there? Is he?
I think it was folk want him, but I think he decided to stay. I think they finished 10th last season. That's not too bad for a team just on the up.
No. Do you know he's on their board of directors as well?
That's how he stayed. Probably.
He got the vote of confidence, mate, by the board, which is him.
He gave you a pat in the back.
I had a pay rise. Yeah, I think he's invested in them as well. That's how he's on the board. There's something mad like that anyway.
Well, why not? You know what I mean? I hate the kind of fly by night, things. I'd rather more structure than that to my club, but fair do, you know what I mean? That sounds like
I get you.
So far.
I get you. I know the modern day though, it is also different. I mean, if you look at, I'm not just talking about the team at the other side of the city, but when you look at the amount of whether it's former footballers, you've got Luka Modric apparently going to invest in Swansea. You've got Gareth Bale looking to invest in Plymouth. You've then got Hollywood actors like Ryan Hingway at Wrexham. You've got.
I'm beginning to think, Bhoycie, that this is some sort of way. I'll be careful of this phrase, but some sort of way of washing money. No washing money, but avoiding tax in some way, because all the big earners are deciding to fuck money into sports, and I think something's going to come out of this.
Well, you'd think, what sort of profit are you looking to make out?
There's no profit. There's not much profit in sport, Bhoycie, and you think, see, the NFL team, for just because you mentioned, like a lot of the clubs.
Because Birmingham have one, don't they, for the NFL? They've got the legend
Brady, aye.
Tom Brady, that's right. I'm sure he's a
Birmingham. Money to be made. There's very, very little. There's a very small minority of people who will make money out of football, apart from football agents and football players. Once you get to when you start paying the bills, you start to realise that the bills are normally higher than the income. But I don't know, boys. I just feel like it's come out wash the last couple of years. It just seems like, I know Beckham started it, but I think that was Mary. He was probably backed by the Americans. He was probably like, listen, you're the face that can turn this into a proper sport in this country, rather than somebody that's just went, fuck it, I'm going to build a football team here. You know what I mean? But I just find it all a bit bizarre. And I think the boys at Wrexham, that's been a wee bit of a spoof TV show that's just, they've managed just to, for some reason, they've just fell in love with it. But like I say, you know what I mean?
They're in the Championship now, mate.
I know, and they seem like paying guys 45 grand a week. I've seen that.
What? I didn't realise that.
Well, there was a guy, a fucking pretty good level of player. I think it was maybe at Spurs last season, I'm pretty sure. And they've offered him a 45 grand a week contract. I think I read that recently.
Similar money. Because they came up with Tom Brady's Birmingham from the champion for League One to the Championship.
They're spending money as well, aren't they, boys?
Kyogo's probably.
They spent 10 million a player last year in League One, remember?
Yes. Who was it again?
And they bought Awata for fucking millions and millions, didn't they, as well?
I don't know how much they paid for Awata, to be honest.
Oh, it was millions. We would have profit on him. It was it was a cracking fee. I was like, oh, fuck. But
what was it, like 3 million or something, do you think?
No, boys, I think it was double that. I think it was a good whack on him.
What? I missed all of this. I did not know this. Okay, cool.
I think, to be honest with you, if you get 5.5 million for Bernabei, I think anything's possible now. You know what I mean? let's be honest, mate. And I don't know if it was you was talking about it last night, like, going for £10 million and all. Come on, I mean, come on, to fuck it.
Do you know what? He might be a good fit somewhere else, but I love the point that GSC Tech had put in last night when he says he could go for 20 million tomorrow. At no point was he the right fit for Celtic.
No,
he was at Celtic, and I thought it was brilliantly put by AJSC, because that made total sense to me. I thought, do you know what? Good luck to him if he becomes a £20 million player. That's fine, but it won't change the period he was at Celtic. He wasn't Celtic quality.
Well, Jack Kennedy was the same one. I think Jack Kennedy went for like £8 million.
10 million
10.
made to Club Brugge, and now is he in Saudi Arabia still? He'd be brilliant on that open goal, mate. I'd love to find out about his career, because he's a dark horse, mate, for how well he's done. The dark horse.
I think, but as you just said there about, I don't think he was ever the answer for Celtic. Excuse me. I remember that time he was spinning around circles at Firhill. Remember, he was tackling himself and lost the body himself. And then he had a couple of games. I think it was one day at Rugby Park. He had an absolute stinker annoyed. A few bad ones, but some players just move on and they excel. But like Awata, for talk's sake, I know it's a much lower level. Don't get me wrong, but he still went to a club where
he was under pressure to win, though. There, he was under pressure to win big time at Birmingham.
Big fan base. They sell their stadium out most weeks. I think it's a nice big 30,000 seater stadium, something like that.
Yes, so it is. St Andrews is randomly called St Andrews.
Yep. Aye.
Why is it called that?
I don't know, but I think St Andrews is a patron saint in a lot of places.
Is it? We just get Scotland just get added to the list.
It's like St George. St George is the patron saint of Tenerife, Barcelona. Aye, England.
Here's another one. How come all the Italian clubs have the St George's Cross in their badges?
Because it's a patron saint. That's the St George's Cross. It's no England. England might use it, but that's St George's Cross.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
And don't forget, like England was invaded by the Romans and all the rest of it. So who knows where the lies for, you know what I mean? Scotland wasn't it, funnily enough, but aye. Anyway.
Yes. Anyway. Where was I? What are we talking about, me?
Yes. One digression. I'm wearing this cut tonight. It's a really nice digression. We'll call it digression. My own brother, he just managed to get a hold of this tap, peak condition just the other day there, and his fucking missus is just put in a tumble dryer and wiped off all the fucking sponsors.
Is that why you're wearing it?
That's why I'm wearing it, just to annoy him. Or they feel bad for him. I don't know what it is, but just 10 minutes before the show started, they said, mate, I was gutted for him. So that's why I'm wearing this random top.
Well, a big shout out to your brother, mate, if he's watching. What a cracking top, Ryan, that is, eh? I love that. I've always loved that Celtic. I'm pointing to fucking nothing. Hey, right, okay, where were we? Right, yes, Celtic. Right now, obviously, I'm not against Celtic being linked right now predominantly with departures, but Greg Taylor has obviously been replaced in the sense that KT's the upgrade and going to be the first team player. But we all know what KT comes with. And that is unfortunate, whether we like it or not, a CV that has as many trophies on it as it does injuries, sadly. You know, and I know that through the last 12 months, it's a wee bit unfair to tar him with that, because I believe he was available for nigh on every single Arsenal game. He was available for selection, I think, about 90% of the games, something like that. I just made that stat up, but it sounds good. It's something like that.
Go for it. Without it.
But with regards to someone else, I mean, I wasn't against KT staying. I know he gets a lot of bashing off Big Liam the Punt Duck and all that, but I mean, if GT was staying and going to be starting, say, 25 games and KT was starting 35 and the more important ones, I wouldn't have been against it. I think the problem we had there with GT was he was going to say, look, I'm 27 now. This is peak contract time. Forget it being peak years of my playing career. This is peak Sponduli time. I want 20 grand a week if you want to keep me. And see, to be honest with you, Celtic should be able to afford that, of course. Would I want us paying $1 million a year to keep Greg Taylor? I'm torn. If it was stick or twist and the stick was $1 million a year on Greg Taylor, I'd probably twist on a 1 million, 2 million understudy for Kieran Tierney and see what they could do. I'd probably twist. But if we did stick and we met his wage demands, I wouldn't be completely against it. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be. But it looks like he's obviously wanting to make the maximum of his earnings. I'm guessing he's going to get a fair pay packet out there. But he is a first teamer, mate, that we're losing there. Whilst I say KT is going to start first choice, he's not going to be able to do the 60 starts that Greg Taylor was capable of if required. And Jeffrey Schlupp, I don't think, has captured the imagination enough to see him getting to returning to the club this summer. I don't imagine that. I think if he signed again on deadline day on a permanent 1-year deal with an option, I don't think the fans will be overly impressed with that, to be honest with you. So that's a void that needs filled. And on top of that, Mark, we've got obviously the Nicholas Kuhn departure. We discussed it at length last week. So rather than talking about what a loss he is, that's an area that will definitely need covered, because Jota's not going to be back maybe even this year. I was suggesting maybe October, November on the bus last week, but apparently I'm hearing now it could be January. So you'd be looking at, Maeda, if he's going to be playing set up front, we need a striker. If he's not going to be, if he's going to be getting used in the wings, you've got Nygren, who you're looking for that instant impact now. The pressure on him ramps up, I think. And then you've got, I think, Jamesy Forrest is going to have a crucial first 6 months of the season. And James Forrest, if you want to toss some of an injury sort of brush, but James Forrest, the first 6 months of the season is non-existent for Celtic the last 3 years. It's only the second half of the season you start seeing Jamesy. So there's a wee bit of work to be done, a wee bit of surgery to be done in the squad. Whilst the departures, I'm not going to say are welcomed, but are understandable, I think, in both counts of Nicholas Kuhn and Greg Taylor. I'm not going to say I welcome them. I'm buzzing to see both players go. But I think if Greg Taylor's looking for money that we're not willing to pay, I think he's been well worth the £2 million for the 5 years we've got out of him. And as far as Nicholas Kuhn's going to be concerned, we're going to make what? Double, treble, quadruple, 6, 7 times what we paid for him. And we're going to have, 40 goals and assists from him in that time he was there. I think that would be one that you're willing to do. But again, not that I'm chasing out the door. But notwithstanding that, where we're led to, Mark, is these two guys, added to the improvements and tweaks we wanted to see at the squad, will need to be addressed. And the sooner, of course, the better. But I think Celtic are waiting for the clarity of these sales first before they get on the front foot. I mean, it wouldn't be like them.
I think they're realistic. I think more than wanting these folk to go. But the Greg Taylor situation's already been laid out. He's out of contract. So there's no decision to be made there, Unless the decision for Greg Taylor is take the contract for Celtic or take another. But the fact that he's been pimped about Europe,
I wonder if that's the case.
Nah, I think it will. I think the fact that he's been pimped about and has spoke about medical, and that tells me that he's going in that set, Bhoycie. You mentioned there about would you like to commit to a £1 million to be Tierney's backup? When you say it like that, the answer is probably no. But when you're going to suggest the guy's going to play a huge chunk of the season, because Kieran Tierney's going to need managed regardless, you know what I mean? So you're going to get 30 games, roughly 25 games out of the second choice. So would letting him go, an experienced guy who's played in Europe, won treble after treble, would losing that man around the dressing room be worth letting him go, but getting somebody for £1.5 million on 10 grand a week on a 4-year contract who's going to cost you £3-4 million anyway over 3 years? You know what I mean? But with probably a residual value, if he plays well, he can be sold as Kieran Tierney's understudy for 4, 5, 6, 7 million. There's always that option for the club. But I think it's one of the positions where Celtic can afford to. They could have just stuck with the head. You know what I mean? We could have went to 20 grand a week. It's an asset. There's no signing on fee. There's no more agents fees. There's nothing to be done there other than renewing contracts. £1 million contract, as you said, it sounds a lot of money over 3 years. Get the best Betty's career left. £3 million, not a large outlay. If it's covering a key position with a standard that can win us trophies, he's been our fullback for 5-6 years now, and he's not had one bad season yet. He's had bad games, bad moments, but he's not had one bad season yet. So I think he would have been worth the £1 million a year, especially with the FSR rules. You £1 million a year, you can hide inside the books and file it away. A £2 million transfer fee and a 10 grand a week all of a sudden becomes a big chunk of that year's finances. Bhoycie, do you get what I'm saying? Or a bigger chunk. And then on Nicholas Kuhn, I think you're right. I think we're going to make a huge profit. We need to replace the goals. I had to talk about that last night. And you're right, we need to replace the goals. But it just thinks a good business. But I dare say a right winger and a left back backup is probably priorities just now within the club, because a priority for the club just now will be getting Kuhn off the books. I think if behind the doors, I think if you ask a club what would rather happen, I think they would rather potentially keep a Hatate and sell a Kuhn for the chunk of money than lose somebody who's key to the team. And I know Kuhn's numbers are key and are pivotal, but I think the board, the fans would be a lot more, I think they'd be a lot more calm about Celtic selling Nicholas Kuhn than they would be about selling a key seasoned part of the squad, i.e. a Hatate or a McGregor or a Carter Vickers or a Johnston or somebody like that. You know what I mean? I think they can get away with that. In fact, most of the reports I've seen, there's not too much discourse about it. People are just like discourse about it. People are just like, do you know what? It's one of the deals that's probably going to happen, and I think it just suits all parties. And the worrying thing for me is, you just mentioned it there. I mean, what little we have saw of James Forrest, and it has been to a good effect. But what we have saw at James Forrest is he normally steps up at the end of the season. It's pivotal that Celtic, again, FSR, keep talking about this, but we need to qualify for the Champions League, boys. If we want to build continuously as a team on the park that's fitting the Celtic jersey, because of the new rules, we're going to see a slump in quality coming into Scottish football, a slump in wages, etc. So the more Celtic can continue to build on European success and get the coefficient points up, qualifying for Europe, we're going to need a higher calibre of player. And we need our first 3-4 months of the season to go really well. So to rely on somebody who's in the wrong side of 30, who has contributed very well in his time at Celtic, but the chances are the best football is behind him. We need somebody who's going to come in. If there'll be an upgrade on Nicholas Kuhn, that's probably hard to ask, because if there's an upgrade on Nicholas Kuhn, the team who wants to sign Kuhn would just buy him instead. So, but what we could do is find somebody, another gem who's hungry, who's got that desire, who's at a base level of ability to that our coaching staff who have worked well with a lot of players can take these guys to the next level. And I think that we've got a coaching team that can do that just now. But the worry for me is, I don't think the coaching team are the ones that are pinpointing and scouting talent just now. So rather than them seeing something they can work with and an ideal template of a player, I think they're just getting copy and pasted what Ange got, what Lennon got, and what Rodgers got the first time. Just a very, very, kind of low standard European league player that Celtic can build up, rather than somebody who's been there, done it, and can possibly take Celtic to the next level given the right coaching. I don't think we're there yet as a club. I think we're going to get the latter. Sorry, the former. I think we're going to get guys who are maybe at a kind of Scandinavian league or a Japanese league, who are kind of like, get a good level of ability, but just know it's Celtic's yet. But Celtic want the possibility to move to the next level. That takes time, and I don't think this season in particular is one that we've got time and we've got a qualifier within 2-3 weeks of the season starting.
No, I get that as well, mate. No, totally. This is the thing. I've got an interest one of the James Forrest point you were making. You know what I mean? I wonder sometimes if, I think this is a way wider than just a Celtic thing, by the way. The players, once they get to their early 30s, everything's about their age. Everything, every comment, every single relatable mention that you make of anything they do good in the football park is that was flashbacks for the past, or how much.
Veteran.
See if you flip it. And by the way, this is quite relatable. It's just a different scale of quality we're talking about here. But James Forrest could be, and I hate this cunt, by the way, but he could be Celtic's Ryan Giggs as well. Now, please don't think I'm trying to say ability. I'm scaling down the levels of ability here, right? But one club man and his position of that. One thing about James Forrest is he's a fucking intelligent footballer as well. And I just wonder if he were to be probably used through necessity at the start of this season, because we won't have all our ducks in a row. The qualifiers, don't want to be, over negative, but I just don't see it. And he is playing maybe 30 minutes of one of the legs, starting the other leg, something like that, and playing 60 that leg. If you're needing him for that, and then he just gets a run at it again, do you know what I mean? Just being in the first team, sort of, whether it's on the bench or not, playing regularly. I think he's one of these type of players who could adapt his position big time. What's happening there, Mark?
I don't know. I
That dug back.
No, I hung the washing up before.
Was it the clothes falling over, mate?
I think it might be. Remember, I've hung that washing up before we started.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what Gucci clothing. That's how much it weighs. It's just quality, mate.
It's Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers. What do you call these
his
shoes?
belt. The Tom Ford shoes. Yeah, but it's interesting with Forrest. I mean, if we were to use the Ryan Giggs theory that he's of a similar ilk, he would have 6 more years still to go. Are you going to go check your washing, mate? Don't you worry about it. So I think, do you know why he's going to check his washing, guys? Because he's freaking out about it looked like a mess. That's how house proud this guy is. He's thinking closer on its side. Oh, I'm going to need to get off the podcast and straighten that up. Fucking hell. But it'd be interesting to see if Forrest can stay regularly fit and available for selection. Whether that means that he will be someone who we stop obsessing with their age and we just start looking frankly at what their contribution is when they're available for selection. I thought they'll run into the last 2 seasons he's been our best player. Last 2 seasons, mate. I think he was absolutely crucial, to be honest with you. More importantly, not this season, the one before, because the title was still nip and tuck. Nothing was guaranteed, and he was really big in that running. And this one, when all was said and done, he was the one bringing you the joy. And I don't just mean that moment. He was unplayable in other games as well. He's a player that I'll be intrigued to see how he gets used. I don't think Celtic will have everything all set up for these qualifiers, Mark. Do you? And do you think that James probably will play a part if he remains fit? And if he does, then can we just consider him as part of the first team the same way you consider anyone else? Do we have to obsess with the fact he's 33 and a half years old?
Well, I think the thing is we're going to have to wait now to see where we're going to be in Europe this season before we can buy. So I don't think we're going to tool ourselves up for the start of the season. I really don't. So to answer that, no, we won't strengthen apart from the players you've already seen. But I get what you're saying about James Forrest. I think it has been crucial. And we mentioned it just a minute ago with Greg Taylor. That's where these guys become. They become crucial when it really matters. They've been there, they've done it. It's not just happened by accident that players who have been at clubs for 5, 6, 7, 8 years and they're successful, and the managers come out and say how much of a good influence they are when it really matters. That's not an accident. That's guys that are seasoned professionals. They can talk to the youth players, talk to the players in the dressing room who haven't beaten the Ibrox with 3 games to go, needing to win. You know what I mean? These guys this is where these guys stone up. And I think the last couple of years, I think even right up to Angie's maybe first or second season, that he stood up. I remember Angie's, I think it was his second season, and we went to Livingston and we were struggling, and he scored a cracking goal, and he's like, he had a brilliant game, and it just seemed to spark a bit of life back into him again. And I think he's been playing well ever since that moment. You know what I mean? When he's got games, he got a hat-trick a couple of years ago against Hibs as well, I seem to remember. So that he has had good moments. His good moments at Celtic are now in the past. He's had recent relative good moments. He's scored goals. Angie's first season, I said he scored the winning goal at Hampden to get us through to a final. He's he scored.
I remember him scoring away at Livy.
That's what I mean. I think when they scored that goal, I think Celtic needed that as a team. But I think since that moment, himself.
That makes sense. The away at Livy, no, it does. And as you say, it's just to be fair to him, Mark. Just be fair and just treat him as part of the first team the same way you would treat a 23-year-old as part of it.
I think Rodgers does, but listen, you're right. I mean, don't forget, Bhoycie, you're not that far off my age. I remember Tom Boyd getting called a veteran.
Easy now.
When he was in his 20s. Tom Boyd just seemed to be this guy that always looked like he was 50. And the same has been made for James Forrest. That guy's about 30. I wish I was fucking 33 to tell you for nothing. But I certainly wouldn't call a 33-year-old in my work old. But I'm just saying, like, so these guys, they get a tag. They're the older heats in the dressing room, you know what I mean? And you're right, anytime they score a goal, it's like, oh, winding back the years and the veteran James Forrest and the seasoned professional rest of it. all these wee tags probably are for people like me and you to talk about, but I don't think it matters. I think it matters to Brendan Rodgers in particular than what these guys can give, rather than what prefix is on their name. You know what I mean? I think when you look at James Forrest, we spoke about it. He's been heavily involved under Ange and Brendan at the key moments of the season. This guy's had minutes, and that shows you that these managers have thought, this is a guy who does his talking on the park and in the dressing room. He can calm things. He can make a contribution, and he's allowing these kind of like, you know, he's younger, more fresher players to blossom at the start of the season. I dare say that the youth players, a guy in his early 20s and mid 20s, they'd probably have a better body pre-season and get into the season than a guy in his 30s, boys. And maybe that's part of the problem. But when you get a bit older at peak athletes stage in your life, peak athlete sports, that when you hit 30, your pre-season and your start of the season for most players is probably a difficult period. You're not going to get the best out of them. Whereas I think youth and guys in their mid-20s, that freshness, they probably just like Kuhn last year. They come in the door on the 10th of July and just kick on. You know what I mean? Straight away. Maybe that's something to do with it, rather than Rodgers and Ange back in the day saying, look, this guy's he's hit 30, he's not good enough, he's a bit part player. Because just on ability, I mean, he said that a contribution akin to what Ida had last season, and Ida got a £9 million contract at it.
Interesting way of putting it. No, I get you. That's a good way of putting it. The boy dog Hector comes in. He says, all right, lads, watched you for years. That's me just subscribed. I'll let you off for not subscribing for 3.5 years, Hector, but hey, that's okay. And if you're an actual dog, then I can understand why it did take 3.5 years to work out to subscribe. But no, welcome aboard the bus, and thank you for hitting that subscribe button. Good to have you with us. Plunge! Mate, you'd put in another comment I was going to bring up, and we were going to debate it, and now you just get really nitpicky with this nonsense. Any chance of calling our manager Brendan, calling him Rodgers is disrespectful? Come on, Plunge, you're better than that, mate. Who cares? It's only his surname. I
don't think I've ever been to a Celtic game and says somebody pass the ball to Musa or give that ball to Scott. And if you said to me, Mark, I missed the game. Who is it that scored? I want to say,
it was Chris. Luke came up the pitch and scored.
What?
I don't get that one, Plunge, mate.
What's he saying?
He says, any chance of calling our manager Brendan, calling him Rodgers is disrespect.
Well, it may be an older boy, because they used to call the manager
Plunge, mate.
Mr. Rodgers and things like that. But I don't think.
Come on.
I think he's at it. I think Plunge is at it. I think he's plunged into it.
He must be. He must be at it.
Good on you, mate. Enjoy your chance.
I've got a few comments that have came in though. Chris, T.N.F, do you two gents, and remember, get your comments in using the hashtag T.N.F, because me and the judge are wanting your ideas to talk about, to bounce off, and obviously get responded, which makes us, of course, on the Thursday, the most interactive Celtic pod there is. T.N.F, do you two gents feel that the club has their hands on the pulse of the Celtic support in any capacity? I don't think they do, except for knowing how to cash in on our devotion.
Yeah.
Take it away, Mark.
Oh, absolutely spot on. They know nothing about the Celtic support other than we'll buy anything with a badge on it. It's all they need to know, and that's all they want to know. I mean, one look at the way they unveiled Kieran Tierney. We spoke about it a couple weeks ago, Bhoycie. For me, probably pound for pound, the most exciting signing we've made in a long, long time. And he's sitting with a pair of Adidas Sambas on to advertise them. No interest in the razzmatazz about us signing a brilliant player. They're not interested in
brilliant example, mate.
Brilliant example. That's a big signing. That's a top signing. They're not interested, boys. So, like, I think they'd rather sell us a product than communicate with us. I don't think they communicate with the ultras anymore. I don't think they communicate with the fans. There used to be like surveys and all the rest of it. I can't remember last time that we got asked a question about our experiences at Celtic Park. We've got one SLO. Just look at the season ticket fan base, 53,000, and there's one supporters officer. What? St Johnstone have got about 4. You know what I mean? And just they're not interested, boys. I suppose when you're that high up the ladder and success is guaranteed financially, the passion is guaranteed every season. You don't need to sell the club to the fans. I suppose you can get a bit complacent, but it can smack you in the face sometimes when you want to put across a key message like asking fans to maybe respect the club's neutral stance on certain policies and certain politics. That becomes a whole lot harder to sell to the fans when the fans feel disenfranchised, disengaged, and disinterested in what the club's got to say. I'm one of the ones that say I support first and foremost Celtic as a football team. I don't always support what the club got up to, but one thing's for sure is that the club don't tend to be supporting me or the fans in any way, because anybody that travels to a home match or an away match especially is, you see the way the fans are treated, Bhoycie. You see the way they're over policing. You see the way there's rarely somebody there to hear the fans' voice or to ask the fans' opinion. Anybody that's watching social media will tell you that Celtic just switch off notifications and just post the biggest heap of shite. There can be an absolute uproar on Celtic Twitter and people tweeting if the club, like, what's happening? Where's the players? And Celtic will say, you ready for this? And you'll start to fix yourself in your chair and it'll pop up a new teddy bear. You know what I mean? And you're going, for fuck's sake. They're nose blind, they're brain dead, they're clueless, and they're not interested, Bhoycie. But
is there an element where both sides of it, this, and again, this isn't a pop at anyone, by the way, I feel like the bold bring out the worst aspects of Celtic fans as well, and that Celtic fans kind of bring out the worst aspects of the board, and the board have many bad traits naturally, by the way, on top of that. You know, if I was to be aligning myself, it'd be with the fans 100%. Do you know what I mean? Not they'd want to align themselves with me. But when it comes down to that aspect, I think it's now just two clashing personalities. If they were individual, if you just want to make them as two individuals, it's two personality clashes now. And the more one goes one way, it forces the other one going the other way. Do you know what I mean? So the more or the less, shall I say, political Celtic want to make things, and the less of a political stance they want the fans to make, the more political Celtic fans, some cases, kid on that they fucking are and know all about. I think in other aspects, as you say, when Celtics post an innocent post, for example, about something they have to, Ross Doon signed. See when 20 fans and just go announce Nidrin. I'm like, oh, fuck that. But Nidrin's probably signed for 3 days. And they're like, fuck that, you can wait. And now we are going to do the happy. I think a great example, in fact, was the close season after or towards the end of the COVID season and into that summer, the happy birthday messages and that, mate, that went on for about 3-4 months. Celtic were doing that, but that was, you knew by then it was a byproduct of us going tonto at the happy birthdays, encouraged Celtic to go, here's another one.
Mm-hmm.
You want a manager? Don't worry about a manager. It's happy birthday to Darren Jackson and shit like that. Do you know what I mean? It was like that, mate. And I'm in no doubt Celtic are guilty of doing that as a wind up, but because they already knew the other side of the coin was already wound up. I think they stuck by Neil Lennon longer because they didn't want to be seen to bowing to fan pressure to get rid of him.
That's a fact. We've had that told to you, Bhoycie, if we know.
Yeah. And I think that was madness. It's irrelevant. And this is where we like Brendan as a manager 9 times out of 10. I think he makes decisions without emotion, without sentiment, without pride in the road. Celtic board don't always do that. I think a lot of I'll give you another example if you want. I think I think the Celtic board were cheesed off at Dermot for reappointing and going above and beyond them to go and get Brendan back. And I think they've insisted on those 9 signings going through. And I think they've probably worked harder that summer. We didn't need 9 signings, remember? That summer, right? We just won a treble. We'd won 2 trophies the year before that. We just got Brendan Rodgers in. And rather than getting him even one player that he would want, we maybe got that Nathaniel, what was his second name we were talking about last night?
Nat Phillips.
Maybe that was a Brendan short-termism one that was just trying to fucking steer us through some of the Champions League games, injuries and stuff. But think how proactive Celtic actually were to go out and get all of those players. That's because they were Celtic signings, not Brendan signings. And I think there was an aspect to that there that, we're going to do. Celtic are never that good in the transfer market when you actually look at, player identified, player bought, sold, boom, boom. 9 hits we got that summer. And of course, they all turned out to be misses. But, when there was a stubbornness to that as well, was there not?
Well, it's been proven. I mean, you mentioned the board and Desmond were at different ends of the spectrum. You look at his unveiling, Rodgers, the second time. Peter Lawwell was sitting, face tripping him. There was a photograph of him shaking hands as a wee joke. And then you look at now, Brendan Rodgers rarely will reference Peter Lawwell or Nicholson. He'll say, I was talking to Dermot. And listen, that is an accident. We've always said that Rodgers is careful with his words, you know what I mean? Unlike us. He is careful with his words. And 100% he knows what he's saying, Bhoycie. And he's either telling us that the only person that can make decisions is Dermot Desmond, or he's telling us the only person he asks permission for things or asks questions of is Dermot Desmond. You know what I mean? I think 100% he was a Dermot Desmond appointment the first time and the second time. The difference is with the second time. Do you remember the night Rodgers, the day Rodgers left Celtic? Peter Lawwell was storming up the Celtic way with the camera in his face. And he was, what's happened? Is he away and all that? And he's like, he gave a kind of really harsh answer on Brendan Rodgers and where he was at and all the rest of it. He's like, I just took us by surprise, blah blah blah. And he was really angry. You know what I mean? I think he took that personal. But in the same thing, I think
they were glad though deep down.
Oh, they got £9 million for him. But I think
they wanted it to look like they were pissed off, Matt.
Oh,
so it's like, see what a baddie. It told you, that's. But there's a lot of that through the actors, mate.
I think the other actors, con artists and all, but I think the January is when it all kicked off and we get guys like Jem Toljan and Compare. It was
the striker.
Timo Weir.
Buyako Sak. What was he called?
The one I didn't get.
What?
The one I didn't get, or the one I did get?
Well, the one they got. What was the striker called? Remember the 2 million striker? He was in like the big green lights in the centre circle.
Oh, his name is
Bako.
Oh God, I know that guy's name. You just ruined it for me now. I can never remember it. Yako or fucking the Castle Yako or
Bio.
I would never have. You've ruined that for me. I'm never going to remember that guy's name the rest of my life now because you've flung away all the permutations of that guy's name. Bio.
Back in Bio or something.
I never forget.
And the winger as well. Remember the winger, the Ukrainian?
Oh, it's
funny. When we started the bus, mate, they were only 2 years before when me and you were talking about this and stuff, and we could ring them off. It's funny how time flies, eh? 5 years ago, and I'm going, what's his name again? Marian Shved. Very good. Yeah, Shved was
a cracker. I get chopped off, remember, in Europe. I mean, the writing was on the wall for the beginning of the calendar year he left. But I think before that, Celtic held him in very high regard. They knew they'd want to watch with him, and we all know he wasn't the appointment that the board wanted. I think they were probably doing the up and coming manager route, which we might see coming very shortly when it comes to replacing Rodgers. I think when you spoke about this the other day on text, but Rodgers, I think 100% is got Dermot Desmond's ear, and the board and Nicholson, who's a puppet, and Lawwell don't like it.
I think you're absolutely spot on. I think you're absolutely right with that. We'll move on because there's quite a few comments to get through. Martin Weir's got a couple waiting to get read out, but we'll go. Oh, look at plunge. He said, Kearney and Boyce in the pod. I feel disrespected by that plunge. Kearney and Boyce in the pod sounds good, mate. Roll with it. It's good.
Well,
anyway.
The back of the tap might say Magners on it, but if I was to sign for Celtic, it would say Kearney or no.
No, but that's true. I do disrespectful.
I'd be happy with that. It's my dad's second name. I'm proud to have it.
Oh, I love that, Mark. Just a wee deep comment, just flung into the banter there, mate. I love that shit, mate. And two
That's
right
what
as
I do,
well.
mate. That's
And
what I
two
do.
right. Two right as well. Right, okay. Let's go to Ryan. Ryan has been bickering with Michelle about Nicholas Coon in the live chat the whole show as well. It's been quite fun to kind of have a wee eye on. Ryan says, Adam Ida up front next season is giving me nightmares. It's not giving me nightmares, Ryan. I've got to be honest with you. I think he has proven himself, and he had a disappointing season last year with 20 goals scored at the end of the day. He didn't have... He didn't have a great season yet, produced 20 goals. I was encouraged more by what I seen the first 6 months, don't get me wrong, and that's when the odds were against him. A couple of factors I want to include in this. I think pre-season, I know you were saying you didn't feel it was as big a deal, or someone was saying that in the chat. I think the pre-season, they're missing out on that, and just the haphazard nature of his transfer, I think did put him off at the start. I think he felt maybe a bit, I keep saying his name this week, Giacomakis vibes with Kyogo. I think he was looking at Kyogo going, he's fucking scored 2 in 10 goals, 2 goals in 10 games. You're like, give me the jersey. Like, I did enough last year to show I can be the number one. And I think by the time he got it, he maybe his confidence had dropped quite a bit, I think. But he still knows how to pop up with important goals. I think that volley hit when it was like such an awkward height at Villa. If you remember, we went back to 2-2 at Villa, remember? It was an Adamida double. Remember for 2-0 down?
Yeah.
And that volley scores, first time. It's just that awkward height where it was like, did you get down to head it? Probably not. And he just got his hip over the ball. Brilliant finish. He has more to come for Adamida, I think. I think a lot of fans would probably consider cashing in. I remember I was saying about stick or twist earlier on Greg Taylor. I mean, I think a lot of fans would twist on Adamida and take a 3-4 million punt. I don't see that happening. I've got to be honest with you. I think Adamida will be here again next year. I've got a feeling as well he might be one of those players who could get 25 goals next year. And I think he might have Cyril Dessers vibes. He might be Celtic's Cyril Dessers in that instance where you don't know how he's producing the numbers because you just don't rate what you're seeing, but his numbers don't lie. And I think there's got to be an element of that. Did that Dessers ever go to? Did he ever get sold?
No, I think there's a wee bit of a haggle. I think there's another team interested. I think there's a few teams wanting them. There's a huge market for people that can score goals. There's also there's not a huge market for folk that miss chances and don't score goals. He missed chances and scores goals. Big Dessers. Would I want him at Celtic? No, but I'd probably swap him for either if I'm. But he's hitting 30 and on this boy, so he has better behind him. It just on either if I can. I think.
Yeah, please do.
I'm 50-50 with that. I think I say he's a big turn up, and I say that with Jess sometimes, but I don't think he's Celtic quality, boys. He's scored 20 goals, and to be honest with you, I think a bit like Scott McDonald and a bit like players like Stokes. I think their stats get padded. I think they score 2 goals when Celtic are 3-0 up. They rarely, and there is occasions, but they rarely score you big important goals. And he did have that few months, 2 seasons ago, which you can't take away from him. But you look at last season, his goals.
Did he score against Rangers last season? I'm sure he did.
Yeah, he scored the Ibrox, scored the equaliser. And I said there is occasions. I'm not going to argue with myself. There is occasions, and then he get 2 at Villa and all. But his season is probably,
he forced home the one against in the Champions League as well. Remember the 1-0 win, the game we were meant to win?
Oh, for fuck, Bhoycie, I was 15 yards past the post, but he was still there. He still
caused the goal. We had to, if it was important.
Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say the guy hasn't made a contribution because 20 goals is nobody sniffed it. But I'm just saying, I think the board won't sell him and Rogers Paul won't sell him. But I think if you're getting to a stage where you're hitting January and he's no performing well, Bhoycie, then I think there's a decision to be made. But I also think if Celtic start this season as Adamida is a number 1 striker, there's been a very, very bad mistake with their transfer policy this summer because a number 1 striker should be a priority for Celtic, a very big priority, because you can't get into a season hoping that Adamida kicks on. I know he missed pre-season last year.
What about Dyson? What about Dyson, mate? Would you still treat Dyson Maeda as a winger?
Well, see, Dyson Maeda, I think Dyson Maeda can get. See his goals last year. Let's get one thing clear on that. That was a 1.5 season for Maeda.
You think it was a moment in time?
Aye, it was. But see him as a left-sided winger. He'll give you that level of commitment. He'll score you goals for that position. So you don't need to lose his pressing and lose his drive at that side of the park by putting him central and putting him on a different side of the pitch. So you can have that and still get the goal for it by keeping him to the left. We don't need him to be central for us to be a goal. Have to be a goal for it. You get what I'm saying? You get more guys in Maeda on the wing than you do as a striker, as an out-and-out striker. Because look at the game it's against Rangers when he plays an out-and-out striker. We totally missed that press on like say James Tavernier and that. We totally missed it, and I think that speaks volumes. I think Maeda is a guy that you push in the middle if you're struggling, or you make allowances to get him in the middle if there's injuries. If we start the season with either as number one striker, Bhoycie, I think we've failed in our recruitment. That's probably your opinion as well. But I did get your point. Well, he's probably.
I'm hopeful still with them. I'm willing to go with Ida again this year. Not just as a loan option. I think that department.
Number one,
we need three folk going for the jersey, mate. This one is just a wee whisper that's going round that Chris M's brought in. Now Evan Ferguson, mate, he'd be a joke for us, mate. Like a joke, how many goals he would score. He's valued at £100 million 2 years ago.
This Irish boy,
mate, him at Celtic would be a shambles. How good a signing, like a shambles. He would score a bucket load for us, mate. English Premier League proven goal scorer, mate. Just doesn't get in the team now. He doesn't suit the setup. I think it was at Brighton. It's Brighton he's plays for. I just don't think he suits the way they play. But he's a type of player with that big profile that I think Rodgers kind of likes in a centre forward, to be honest with you. You look at Musa, you look at Adam Ida's profile. Evan Ferguson, though, he'd be a fucking goal machine for us. If we got him on loan, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised, big man, as to what he would do in a. He's the type of player, right, that even though he's at Brighton right now, not getting his game, I wouldn't be surprised if his next move is to a club that are bigger than Brighton. He's just at the wrong fit right now, if that makes sense, for what the manager's looking to do. I wouldn't be surprised. What's that?
An Everton or something like that, or
maybe no bigger. I think. Oh, I've been bigger. I could see him at a top six. Top six would take a punt on him, mate. Honestly.
Well, we look at that. I think you can tell where Celtic are going with the players that they're buying to be in the first 11. I think Liegren has been bought to be in the first 11 setup, and he looks like a Tom Rogic / Matt O'Reilly hybrid, going forward with a bit of pace, but get in that number 10 pocket. That tells me we might be looking at somebody who along the lines of Adam Ida, rather than somebody who's going to be running after defenders constantly and running in behind. If you got a player breaking forward, breaking the lines, I don't necessarily see the need for somebody who's going to be turning defenders and moving on. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I think if you were maybe building a team like a very strict 4-4-2 sort of thing, where you're using your wings quite a lot, I think you would maybe say, well, we need somebody who can boom back and right behind the defenders and right through and goal. You know what I mean? If you're buying guys who's going to impact the first 11 who are in that number 10 pocket, and we've missed number 10 since O'Reilly left. We've not had one, and O'Reilly was the perfect replacement for Rogic. So we've got one again. We've got one again. By looks at. So if that's a route we're going doing, it might just be the case where Celtic are going to be looking to. If you've got Maeda and Tierney the other side, very similar. You're going to have overlaps. You're going to have people, getting into that wee space and that wee pocket of space, because Kieran Tierney will be overlapping and Maeda will cut in. I'd imagine you're not going to have the two of them overlapping. Makes no sense. So you're going to have Celtic near central, but it looks at, and that tells me that Celtic might be going down the road for either sticking Maeda or somebody of that ilk, because you don't need both, Bhoycie, if you're only playing one striker at a time.
Yeah, I get that.
For courses, but I might be wrong totally like that.
I get exactly what your theory is there in terms of the tactics of the team, etc. I think Evan Ferguson would be a person of interest to Brendan as well. I would be, if they managed to get him on loan.
Is this spoke about? I've seen his name. Is it something?
There's been whispers about, mate.
just now?
No, it's been whispered about, mate. Definitely. Well, that's
get a
if they can get him on loan, I'd be a coup, I think, a real coup. That was something Chelsea were linked with 100 million for just 18 months, 2 years ago. So
I remember his name being mentioned.
He scored a shitload at first, mate, when he came in. He's such a natural finisher. He's still so young. He's only 22, 23 now. He'd be box office for us, mate. I'm not exaggerating. But
he's Irish, so we'd at least have a chance. We'd at least listen to us around the table. You know what I mean? You'd at least speak to Celtic. It may just be a case of, you mentioned teams that if he does get like a top 6, 8 team talking to him, Celtic won't have a chance. But if he's kind of stagnating when he bought him off of the league, then he might take a punt at the Champions League football. I mean, I dare say his Ireland place might not be guaranteed unless he's getting minutes and all. So maybe think about that.
Definitely.
You know, I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows how they?
Well, we know he's competing with the jersey, don't we?
Well, but the sounds that he would come in and take a jersey in a second. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think this is where I become selfish. I don't care about the name anymore. I care about the best option we can have. Even with Kyogo, when I love Kyogo, just get anybody that comes in. If they're playing well, they get the jersey. I'm not interested in their name. You know what I mean?
Totally. No, I agree with that. Right, Matt, we've got a few more to get through, so we better speed up a wee bit. Right, cheers for that one, Ryan. No, that was good. That was a bit Adam Ida giving you nightmares, so thanks. That was a good wee chat there on that one. P. McLaughlin saying the new away strip out tomorrow, apparently, Matt. You got it pre-ordered yet, no?
If it's out tomorrow, I'll get it, but I'm going to put it. I'll fucking
Bumblebee.
Is it that one we've seen on?
Is it the thin? Is it potentially going to be that one with the thin, luminous pinstripes? I think they should just go all out like Nike did and just go for the block hoops.
Just steal it. I mean, there's
with the Adidas stripes against it, and it doesn't matter if you break the hoops in the Bumblebee. So we'd all be okay with that. I think if you had the three stripes clashing with the Bumblebee hoops, chunky. I think it could look the bollocks.
You could even just have it black with the yellow stripes or alumnus, and then the alumnus. That would look great, but I don't think we'll get that stinking one.
I hope it's not that, because I don't like that.
Remember we seen. I'm not going to mention the guy's name. I really like Snapchat. But I remember seeing on his Instagram the jogger. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to say the guy's name. But anyway, I think it's a fucking certainty. If it's out tomorrow, I will buy it, and I'm worried about how ugly it is, and I'm worried about the price. I'll do what I always do, but I'll buy it. I think we all do the same. But it doesn't matter what it is, we'll buy it anyway, no matter what shite they put on it.
No, I get you, mate. I get you. The boy dog Hector comes in. Woof, woof, woof. And he says, T.N.F. T.N.F, if we go for Miovski, then that shows you how bad the recruitment team is. Do you know what, Hector? It could just be, like I was saying last night, that this rumour was always going to happen if Miovski remotely looks like he could be for the off at Girona. He was always going to be linked back with Celtic again by the papers.
Yeah.
It might be nothing to do whatsoever with Celtic looking to bring him in. I'm not sure if it is lazy. I think when you have a person of interest, which he definitely was first time around, I don't think there's any reason to score them off your list straight away.
Keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on them. And certain
progress, yeah. He's not become a bad player in one season. And you've got to be honest as well. If the offers were both the team, I doubt Celtic even matched Girona's bid for him, to be perfectly honest with you, Mark. Kearney, I should say. But I don't think Miovski would. I wouldn't blame any player for choosing La Liga, mate, over the SPFL. I like the idea of people choosing Celtic because of Celtic's size of stature, and I would get it if he did choose Celtic. But I wouldn't hold it against someone for going. I went to Spain. Top 3 leagues in the world in that climate.
The Spanish Sun in Real Madrid or Lennox Town in Park Circus, you know what I mean? They're going to choose. They're going to choose Spain. But whether I think, personally, I didn't think Miovski was the right choice for Celtic then. I don't think he's the right choice for Celtic now. But I'm not getting against Celtic having an eye on a player and thinking he's our one, and then watching him develop and say, well, there's a chance for us to get this guy now. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's probably just lazy journalism rather than a link. You know what I mean?
Yes, of course it is, mate. Paddy never sits up there ever unless I'm doing the podcast. It's like he knows he's on camera. It's bizarre.
Aye, 100%. Is it that
He
light?
knows.
See, cats love the heat. So is that light
He
only
looked
on
up
during
when you
the pod?
said that. As soon as you said that, he looked up like
Aye.
he's fucking in the
It's the
light,
heat
man.
after light. Is that only on during the show?
Oh, we don't need the heating on. I heard you say you were putting your heating on, mate. I'm pretty sure.
The heat's on, mate. Aye.
What are you
Just for that
talking?
washing. It's for the washing. I've just done a washing. The cat's fucked off today washing and all it. I told you I'm domesticated. What a catch I'm a. You know what I mean? I can eat shite, shuffle shite, eat whatever as they say. I can do washings, I can iron.
You're a
I do everything,
domestic
man.
goddess, mate. Or god, whatever it is.
Aye.
Right, Martin Weir, the last one of the night. Do you think we could be holding back right now in terms of recruitment, I suppose he's alluding to see what they do across the city? Nothing would surprise me with regards to that, but I mean, would it be a strategy I'm envisaging Celtic using right now? No, I think they're probably looking to see what they'll have to play with. I think they'll have the list of targets there, and you can go higher up in the list, the more revenue you bring in. So if you get us £20 million for Nicholas Kuhn, then Brendan, we might be able to look at option A for centre half that you've got on your list rather than option B or C. If you can get us maximum money for, if there was another to leave, say it was Austin Trusty, and we were able to get if you can get $6.5 million back for Trusty, then you can have it all to get option A for your centre back position. Stuff like that. I can't. That's what I think they'll be gauging what they invest. Whilst they will make a small amount of funds available anyway, I'm sure. But everything will be a player by player basis. Will they be waiting? What I would say is I don't think they're holding back to see what the other city do. But what the club at the other side of the city do could still impact how Celtic then act. Because if Rangers were to spend 30, 40 million pounds, say, I know it's saying about 20 million investment right now, that could easily go up. They've spent 71 million pounds or something like that to buy the club. 20 million available, that's 90 odd million investment. What's 110? Not a huge jump up. If you've seen Rangers spending crazy money like that, I'm not saying they will. I'm just hypothetically talking here. If you've seen, of course, Celtic would react to that. Do I think they're holding back though to see what Rangers do? I'm not quite convinced of that. But do I still think Rangers' activity could cause a reaction from Celtic? Yes, I do.
I totally agree with you, mate. I don't think Celtic will act independently, but if something happens across the road that makes Celtic need to stand up and take action, they will. I don't think Rangers' transfer policy will be on the agenda at Celtic Park in the boardroom, but if they start to make waves, then Celtic will have to react. So I'm spot on. I agree with you, mate. I think if something happens that's eye-opening, Celtic will react to it. But I think independently, Celtic will have their budget, their transfers, their targets, and whatever it is, and again, independently to it. The San Francisco 49ers and, I don't know, Tesco and Asda, whoever else owns Rangers got up to in the summer.
I agree with that. Right, okay, we'll wrap it up there. Mark, that's been an hour and 5 minutes. I've thoroughly enjoyed your contributions tonight, mate. Brilliant to have you on the bus.
That's what I do, Bhoycie. I mean, I'm a giver. I'm a gift to the public. I'm a public servant, and I'm here for
A domestic goddess.
And again, I can do washings. Anybody that's wanting hired help, I'm free most nights. I can talk Celtic while I do it.
I tell you what, though.
Imagine me moaning, doing your hoovering, just moaning about Greg Taylor leaving. Oh, I'm well, fucking they could have kept him. I mean, that'll be a crack.
Just hearing you mumbling about this, going, can you trap a fucking balloon at a kid's party?
Didn't
mind me, son. And I tell you, have you ever thought someone had OCD? That boy got out his chair earlier because he thinks his clothes horse fell over. Couldn't leave it 20 minutes. Oh no! The thought of that clothes horse being on its side was just eating him up. You could see it. He was like, 10 seconds.
It wasn't
That's enough.
It wasn't all, to be fair.
Right, we'll get the fuck out of here. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks again to you, Judge, and I will see you all later. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.